I didn't like that. I said, that's okay. I said, I do this for nothing. He said, but don't you know who I am? I says, no, and I don't give a. And so if you don't shut up and sit down, I'll have you thrown off the field. He says, I am a very famous actor. And I says, I got news for you. I can send you to the moon just like the next guy. I think he got the message. I forget what his name was. He was very popular at the time. I haven't ever seen him again or saw him on television. In fact, I never even saw him but once on television. But these people, they get this exaggerated profile of themselves being superhuman or something, No, not all of them. Not all of them are like that, but some of them are. I ran into one of my neighbors down the street, Farrah Fawcett, and she didn't live down the street from me at that time, and she was really into horses as a young girl, and all those kind of things that a lot of girls in Texas get involved in. And I met her at the racetrack. I was a turf club member at Santa Anita for about 14 years. And I met her, and she was one of the nicest, sweetest people I ran into. And then she moved, I don't know, about a 16th of a mile away from me. And I would see her occasionally. And she married, she was living with Brian O'Neill. And they got into drugs big time. It was sad. And it almost ruined their careers. It ruined his career. But, people do what they're going to do. And there's nothing you can do about it.
And it's certainly probably added to her shortened lifespan.
I think you're right. It could have been a cause. It's hard for me to say. I don't know much about medicine. But, there were a lot of quiet, nice people in Malibu, where I lived for a long, long time. But most of them were jerks. I wouldn't have anything to do with them. And with many of the time they try to pull that on me. They say, I don't think you ought to do that. They say, why? I say, you might get hospitalized. And so I spent a lot of time with their kids, let me tell you. Baseball, basketball, soccer, tennis. The only thing I didn't do was the ocean swimming. But anyway, you don't want to hear about me. Here we go. We got Fred, famous Fred, to Melody and Bob. A couple of weeks ago, I heard you... What's that?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, a couple of weeks ago, I heard you folks talking about a new ETF gold fund out of Canada that Bob would recommend, since it supposedly had real gold assets versus the toxic GLD and SLV ETFs. Can you tell me more about it? And would you still recommend it? The reason I want to put money in an ETF is I am constantly traveling. So I have no home where I could put a safe in that would be safe, and so I got a problem, and that is a problem. Okay, the new fund is Sprott Asset Management. Now, there's the firm generally is a good firm. They've been very pro-gold. They're in Canada. It's a brokerage firm, advisory, and so on. The guy that John, I can't remember his last name right now. Terrific guy, great in the gold silver movement, and so on. So they formed this bullion deal, but they just put Farber on their board, Mark Farber, and it's been my suspicion for many years that this guy's a government plant or a CFR plant, because you don't get on the Barron's Roundtable for years unless you're connected that way, and that's a fact. And so I don't think it was a very good decision that they put him on there, and I don't know whether they know what this guy is up to, and they probably don't. But he's going to hurt them in the end. This guy is phony baloney, and he grabs the latest trend and hooks onto it. He has a report called Doom and Gloom or something to that effect. And I've read him for at least 25 or 30 years. And because he was in Barron's, I subscribed to Barron's, I don't know, for 40 years or something like that. But anyway, I thought that was a very bad choice. And Ian Telfer, who was on their board, has moved over to the World Gold Council, which is definitely a plant for the Illuminists. And Telfer used to be with Goldcorp. In fact, he took over as CEO when Rob McEwen left. And McEwen was and still is a very good friend of mine. And Rob called me when that deal was being made. He said, "What do you think?" I said, "I wouldn't have the guy from my garbage collector." And he went ahead anyway and made the deal, and Telfer took over, and now he's over at the World Gold Council. And they're just a bunch of shills for the anti-gold crowd. So it's a long-gated answer, but I would not buy it, their ETF, because we don't know what these kind of people are going to do, and I don't think Sprott knows what they're getting themselves into. And if they do know, then they're part of it too, but I don't think so. And so, you get Central Bank of Canada, you can use that. I know nothing wrong about that. And if you are traveling and you can't have coins at home, and you don't want them in a safe deposit box, you got to go do that. I guess you could buy shares as well. That would suffice. Or maybe a combination of both, Fred. Anyway, so I would not buy SLV and GLD because someday there's going to be a major scandal because they do not own the gold and silver that they say they have physically. And if they want to sue me, let them. Because then we'll go to court, and then I'll get a court order for them to open up the vault to see what's in there at J.P. Morgan Chase. And I don't think it's going to be what they say they have. So I will not recommend them.
I mean, Bob, I'm not fond of safety deposit boxes, but weighing the risk one to the other, I would think that the risk would be less with a safety deposit box.
Yeah, you got a good point there. Fred, you hear that? Maybe you should, take the risk of the safety deposit box and rather than do any of those things. Because if they don't snatch the boxes before you get the coins out, you've got them. Yeah, that is a better idea. Even for someone who travels.
You can have your funds in an account like ETFs or something like that, and they could just as easy snag your funds there too. It doesn't matter where you're
That's right.
at.
Mm-hmm.
So, plus you can have somebody on the account with you that. The key to having a safety deposit box is knowing your bank and knowing these situations that can occur. So if, something, happens, if there's another 911, so to speak, or whatever, you can go in and get your coins out. You don't have to wait to see what's going to happen. Get them out. You can always put them back.
Well, I hope that Fred has somebody who can do that with him, a spouse or a close friend or a relative, and who lives nearby.
It's unfortunate that there's not just you can't trust. Not a lot of things you can do with trust nowadays. Walmart said yesterday that it is terminating about 11,200 jobs at Sam's Club warehouse division. What about Obama's promise to create 1 million jobs last year? Plus, there's been, following up on the closing of banks, so far 9 banks have gone down. I guess a boatload went out this weekend. That's from Ivan.
Right, and I have that in Wednesday's issue. That's 10% of Sam's compliment. But if that's, you know, if the stores aren't making any money, and you're in the kind of environment that you're in, you got to close them down. I mean, you don't have any choice.